Okay, my phone says it's officially 12 o'clock and that means we're allowed to start. So welcome everybody and thank you so much to those of you that have got up in the middle of the night to attend. Right, this is all about what you can do with the scalar scans. So let's get started. So the first thing is, what is Spooky2 Scalar? It gives you 3 ways of using the scalar devices. So when you buy your first Spooky2 Scalar, you get a transmitter and a receiver, and they are paired. Now, I've actually bought 2 scalars, and so on mine, I've actually labeled them Unit 1 and Unit 2, if you can see how I've labeled that one, so that I know which pair always goes together, because they are set in the factory so that, they are paired devices and you connect them with a link cable. But it wouldn't do any good for me to take this receiver and put it with the other transmitter. So I keep them as a pair, just the way they came from the factory. The 3 ways that you can use your scalar: you can simply turn it on, literally plug it in, connect the link cable, and sit between the 2 boxes with the lids facing each other, and you will be in the scalar field once you've tuned the device. And that's one way to use it. The other way is molecular scalar. So, for example, when my mother came to stay, she'd had a really nasty fall while she was visiting my sister in Melbourne, and because she's elderly, the skin generally comes off and it doesn't heal well, and it forms ulcers over the next few months, and sometimes surgery is sort of the only option to bride the wounds and sort of start over. So she'd seen the doctor in Melbourne, and he'd said that due to her age and general poor condition, he thought she was never going to regrow the skin on her palms of her hands. She'd done a really good job. It was hands, elbows, knees, like she'd really gone to town on this. So what we did is I had her sleeping in the pure scalar field for the first few nights that she came to stay with me. And after that, I started putting little bottles of essential oil on the receiver coil. And for her, I chose frankincense, myrrh, and clove oil because I had a good look at her toenails and they were awful. It was pretty obvious that poor old mum had fungal toenails. And we did that for about a week before we went back to see the doctor here in Sydney. And when we unwrapped those bandages, all of the skin flaps were pink, they had reattached, they were healthy, and there was absolutely no sign of any ulcers or anything like that. Now, I will tell you at the same time, I was also pumping her full of vitamin C and zinc and popping her out in the sunshine as often as I could. But molecular scalar is absolutely marvelous. It doesn't have to be an essential oil. You can actually take little crystals, and there's 2 things you can do with these. Crystals have their own frequency, and you can put a crystal on the receiver side if you want to receive the frequency from the crystal. There's also a really clever thing you can do where you can put the crystal on the transmitter side and you can imprint frequencies into it. So you can actually use a 3rd mode called Rife Scalar, where you're actually using your GenX probe to run frequencies through the devices, and it's up to you whether you just want to sit in the field and get the benefit of that, or you want to imprint something on the transmitter coil while you're doing it. And the reason scalar works so well is because we are made of energy. We are basically electrical creatures. And once your energy levels fall below a certain point, that's when a chronic illness can set in. So scalar can recharge cells. So you might hear people talk about grounding and, getting outdoors in the fresh air and the sunshine. And I'm not going to deny it. That is absolutely one of the most fabulous things you can do. However, it's not always possible, particularly for elderly or people who are already ill. So if you can't get yourself outside and you can't, go and sit on the grass and hug a tree and go for a walk, then scalar is the very next best thing, because you can set it up around your bed, you can set it up anywhere you like. The further apart you put the boxes, the stronger the field becomes. And I highly recommend it. And I have slept in a scalar field at night times pretty much every single night since I've had it. There would be very few nights that I have not. Now, one caveat, like all electrical devices, okay, they're not recommended for people with pacemakers, okay? Now, what is scalar energy? It's actually old technology. It's not something new. It was actually discovered by James Clerk Maxwell, who was born in 1831, and it was further developed by Nikola Tesla. And it's not an electromagnetic wave. It's different. So it's a type of energy transfer which it doesn't lose power as it transmits, and that is why Tesla was so interested in it. So what we have with our scalar device is we have a receiver and a transmitter, and you might think, well, there's only air in between them, but the truth is the ether is actually full of charged particles. And there are some really, really interesting videos on YouTube if you want to go looking for them. It's called 0 Point Energy, about how people have developed machinery, over the years, that was actually able to take the energy out of the ether and run devices like free electricity for everybody, basically. And unfortunately, most of these people had their inventions taken away from them. Patents are now owned by governments, and you'll never see these devices. You'll have to invent your own, unfortunately. But there are a number of people who have accidentally discovered how they can get the energy out of the ether. So because the Spooky2 has a sender and a receiver, the sender is tuned to the receiver, and we can look at how we tune them in a wee moment. It's very, very easy. This is such a simple piece of equipment to use, and it's got so many great results. You just simply plug it in. Now this is the link cable. So basically you link the two boxes together with the link cable, and you can make the link cable as long as you like. Okay, so Spooky2 has extension cables and connectors, and I have done it through the whole house. Okay, so it's not stopped by walls or doors or anything like that. The scalar waves can pass right through these things. So I can actually put one box in this room, and I can go right to the other side of the house. And as long as I've got a long enough link cable, and you try not to have it touching metal. So I use a lot of the command adhesive hooks and suspend mine around the house. And the further apart you put the boxes, the stronger the field you will get. Okay, and when you are between these two boxes, essentially you're a tuned receiver as well. So for example, if you were to put a glass of water on the transmitter coil and sit between the two boxes, and even if you have no frequencies running from the generator at all, just the two boxes and you in the middle and the water on the transmitter coil, that water will receive the most beneficial frequencies for you, because you are actually acting like a tuning device yourself, and the frequencies that resonate with you that your body is taking from the scalar field can actually be imprinted into the water just from you sitting there, and when you drink the water, it's of benefit to you. Okay. So in the 1900s, Nikola Tesla advanced Maxwell's discovery. He's the one that showed that scalar waves can carry out lossless transmission of energy over vast distances. And we are talking really, really vast distances. It can pass through solid metal objects or walls with no loss of power, and it can transport energy without the need for wires. And if you look on the Spooky2 blog, I think it was Jeff Kaiser did an experiment actually checking to see if the Spooky2 Scalar could transmit without the link cable, and he found that it could. However, I'm not recommending that you do. I'm recommending that you do connect the link cable because that is the better way to make sure you've got a field there. Once you've got it connected, and you see the picture here with the lids facing each other, okay, so they pop up, and the lids essentially act like a type of antenna. And the field itself is like a football or a zeppelin shape. So it's narrowest near where the boxes are, and then it balloons out, okay? So it's not just a straight line like a wave between them, it is actually a field. And if any part of you is in the field, that's good enough, okay? The whole of you will be treated. So what you can do with this, you can put it either side of a chair. I've actually got one here in the lounge, which is at opposite ends of the couch. And that's the one I use for scanning, because it's close enough that a person can sit comfortably on the couch. And I have another computer set up outside of the field. So you want your generator and your computer at least 1 meter outside of the field to do your scanning. But otherwise, if you're just using the frequencies, go for gold. You can set them up as far apart as you want. The width of the field is half the distance between the boxes. So if you look at this here, okay, and you say, right, let's imagine that you'd set it up 6 feet apart, okay, and that's the minimum. Then you would say, well, half of 6 feet is 3 feet, and so you'd have a field that's 3 feet wide in the middle. Now, there are theories that a secondary toroidal feed exists around the active field, which can stretch out further, but these are theories, not proved. Okay, so how far apart should the boxes be? And there is theoretically no limit. So when Tesla was doing his experiments, he measured the circumference of the Earth using scalar waves, and he could detect storms that were some 200 miles away. Now, if he can do that, I'm pretty sure no one's got a house or property that's going to be anywhere near as large. So this will absolutely cover your entire home, or put them together when you're doing a scan. Okay, now as mentioned, the further apart they are, the bigger and stronger the field is. However, there is a caveat with that. The more items there will be within the field. So for example, if you're not the only person in the household and you've put the scalar field across the whole household and you've got 5 or 6 people in different parts of the house, each of them will be not equally taking from the field. It's on a user, a most needs basis. So for example, if somebody needs more, somebody else will take less. So all the people that are in the field don't actually take the very same amount. Now, the minimum recommended distance is 6 feet, and you should try to keep at least 2 feet away from the transmitter and 1 foot away from the receiver. Okay, so when I have it set up on my couch and someone's sitting in the middle, they're basically 2.5 feet, 3 feet away from each box, and that's absolutely fine. So when we are doing a scan, we want to try and keep the 2 units as close as possible so that we don't get interference of other things being in the field. And I also like to run a baseline first. And when we get to the software, I'm going to show you exactly how we do that. Now, how does Scalar help your body heal? So basically, you're made of energy, and through your whole body, you've got a network of energy channels, or if you like, meridians. And this is the energy system that makes you feel healthy and energized. Okay, it's your chi or prana, you might hear people talk about. And some people believe that when you have a blockage in one of these meridians, or a blockage where the chi is stagnant, this is what causes disease. So when there is a blockage, the local metabolism slows down and the body structure is less able to remove waste, which means things are going to build up more and more. But because your cells use scalar fields to communicate, once you sit in the scalar field, you're restoring that communication. And even if you're not doing anything else, it gives the body a way to recharge and to detox and start moving things out of the system. Okay. So this is the Spooky2 Scalar, and I really can't speak highly enough of it. I've used it not just on my mother, I find it absolutely brilliant for my pets as well, because you don't need to connect wires to the person that you're scanning. Okay, all they need to do is be in between the 2 boxes. I had one really well-trained dog that I would put her bed in between the units and she would just literally stay there and let me run a hunt and kill on her. She was magnificent. The dog I've got now, which you may see leaping around later in the presentation, he's not quite so well behaved. So I would put him in a crate and then put the units either side of him. And I have done that. My naughty little dog, probably about a year ago, got into rat bait and ate 6 packs of it, and 1 pack is enough to kill him. He ate 6. Good on him. So what we did is we, of course, made him vomit. We got him the vitamin K to help the blood coagulation. I ran the hunt and kill, which sounds like a terrible thing to do to a dog, but what it's really doing is it's picking up the frequencies that the body needs most. So I ran his biofeedback on him, and then I put it together with a program for blood coagulation. And for about the first week after his misadventure, he slept in his crate with the scalar going each night. I also imprinted some stickers to go inside his collar when he was running around in the daytime. And I tell you, that dog didn't miss a beat. That dog well, the vet thinks he's a miracle dog. He really does. So yeah, there was absolutely nothing wrong with that dog then or now. Anyway, back to the Spooky2 Scalar. So the fields that they produce are very strong, and they use analog circuitry to make sure you get a pure signal. You can either put something on the receiver side if you want to receive the benefit of it. So that thing can be a substance. It could be a vitamin, it could be a pharmaceutical, it could be an essential oil, it could be a crystal, okay? Anything you want to receive the benefits from. You can also use your generator to put frequencies through the scalar field, although notice how I've put here, it's frequency modulated. So what it actually does is it pulses the scalar field on and off at that frequency to give the effect of the frequency. There's also a device that you can get as an accessory called the scalar harmony. And this is the harmony pictured here with a little bottle of essential oil sitting in it. And what the harmony does is it just gives you like another way to use your scalar by putting music frequencies, or you could play the solfeggio frequencies or other like binaural beats, things like that. You can put them through the scalar harmony and put the benefits of those frequencies through the scalar field as well. There we go. Now let's get into the actual biofeedback. So the way that it works is this little beauty. This is a Spooky2 Scalar digitizer, and there's really not much to see at all. This is it. That's what does the magic. Okay, so what it does is it measures tiny changes in the scalar field during the frequency scan. And the frequency scan goes from 500 up to 50,000. Okay, it's not ideal to go beyond 50,000 because it's not actually putting frequencies through the field from the generator per se. What it's doing is it's flashing the field on and off at a frequency to create the frequency modulation. If you go beyond 50,000, then the field may become unstable. So that's why those limits are set. You don't need to worry about that because that's the benefit of presets. It's all done for you. Now, once you do your scan, a pop-up comes up that says, right, here's the list of frequencies which you can now save as a program. And then once you've got that, there's lots of things that you can do with them. You can simply play them back. You could use reverse lookup to find out what these frequencies are and programs that contain these frequencies, bearing in mind that reverse lookup is not a diagnostic tool, but it can give you some clues as to what programs might be helpful to run. You can combine these biofeedback frequencies with other programs in the database, and that's where the biofeedback tool comes in to show you what we can do with that. Or you can imprint these frequencies into something. You could simply decide to, you could decide, right, you've had enough of sitting between the two boxes. You could put a glass of water on the transmitter side, okay, transmitter side, because we're going to imprint into it, and you could play your biofeedback results into the water, essentially, because it's sitting on the transmitter coil. Come back later and drink the water. Okay, or you can leave it running all night either side of your bed as you sleep. It's entirely up to you what you want to do with it. Now, just like any biofeedback scan with any of the other devices, it lists the frequencies that gave the greatest response, and it's not necessarily always the things that you were looking for. So for example, you might have a sore elbow and you might think, well, that's the be all and end all. I can feel my elbow really hurts. But the scalar scan might come back and say, no, really, there's something going on with your kidneys that's, that frequency is more important than your elbow. You'll live with a sore elbow, but let's take care of the kidneys first. So repeated scans are necessary, okay? The advantage of doing it with scalar is that it is so easy. You can literally do a scan every single day. Like when I've been using the hunt and kill, I will set it up at bed at night, and just wake up in the morning and it's run through a hunt and kill 6, 7, 8 times overnight. And it's just gone frequency after frequency after frequency. And you're not connected to any cables. It's not as though you're going to roll over and get tangled up in anything. It doesn't make any noise. Like the central sometimes beeps and carries on. It also has a flashing light at times. This doesn't. Okay, so it's nice and silent. You can sleep in the room. You can even do it with the generator running offline if you don't want to bring the computer, close to the bedroom. If you do that, though, you can't use the software to turn the generator screen off, but it's easy enough to get a wee tea coaster or a little bit of paper and just pop it over the screen, and that'll go dark so it doesn't bother you at night. Now, the reason I love the Scalar scan so much, no wires connected. You can scan pets. You can scan the whole body, including things that are going on inside your head or other parts that you can't necessarily get to with the TENS pads. Okay, with the TENS pads, you're not supposed to put them over the thyroid, over the heart. You can put them above and below a joint, but you're not supposed to put them on joints, and they're not supposed to go above your shoulders. So with the Scalar scan, you're getting a scan of the whole of you, and I really like it for that. I really do. So what you're going to need to do a biofeedback scan is you are going to need the two Scalar units, the receiver and the transmitter. You are going to need the Scalar digitizer, and you are going to need a Generator X Pro. Okay, the Scalar devices will come with everything you need to connect up. Okay, they'll have the power cable, they'll have the link cable, and then to connect to the generator and to the Scalar digitizer, you need a couple of BNC cables. Okay. All right, so this is how you do it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you connect the Scalar digitizer to the link cable port on the transmitter, and it's literally so easy. Okay, so if I take it out of the box, here's my transmitter. This is where the link cable would go. There you go. I just fitted it. There we go. That was very, very easy. Then we're going to connect the link cable and the power cable to the transmitter. Okay, here's my link cable. You simply put it into the top of the little digitizer that we just connected. The other end is going to be connected to the receiver. Okay, now they wouldn't normally be sitting side by side like this, but I'm just showing you how the connections work. Okay, and I would connect the power cable just here as well. Now, the next thing is we're going to take our generator. Now, if you're not used to the generators, when you look at them, okay, it's got two generators in one, and it actually says on here, G1 and G2, generator 1, generator 2. Each of them has got an output 1 and an output 2. Output 1 is red, output 2 is blue, okay? We're going to connect generator 1, output 1, okay? So I would look, okay, there's G1, output 1, grab my BNC cable, put it on, give it a twist. Literally that simple, okay? And then the other end of the BNC cable is going to go onto the BNC port of the digitizer, okay? So when we're connecting it up, G1 is going to be the one that runs the master preset. So this is the one that connects to the digitizer, okay? Then you would take G2, okay? So here's G2. You look for output 1 again. You take a second BNC cable, connect it to output 1 on the generator, and this one goes directly onto the BNC port that's sitting here empty at the moment. Okay, so generator 1 gets connected to the Scalar digitizer. Generator 2 goes direct to the BNC port on the transmitter. Then we now want to connect the generator to the computer, and we want to turn it on, okay? And you do that exactly as you would normally. So you plug it in, you get your USB cable, connect it into your computer, start your turn on your generator first, and then start your software so that it can find the generator, okay? Once you've got that sorted, turn on and tune your Scalar. Now, there's lots of videos online about how to tune the Scalar, but essentially what you do, there's a knob here, so you would turn it on. The light comes on in the wee screen, and over to the right, there's a section where there's a little red LED. When you first turn it on, it's not showing anything at all. So what you do is you take the tuning knob and you just turn it to the left, okay? So you're going down from the number 8, turn, until you get the brightest red light on your transmitter. Now, if you go too far, that little light will go out and then it will come back on. You don't want that second light. You want the first bright red light. So the first bright red light is where there is a scalar field. The second bright red light is where you're getting EMF. We don't want that one. We want the first one. Okay, so you turn it on, go tune, 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 tune until you get the brightest possible light. If you think it's just starting to drop down, turn it back up a wee bit. Sometimes it's hard to tell if you're in a lit room. So you might either put your hand over it, or, if you're doing it ready for bed at night, just flick the light off and just make sure you've got the brightest possible light. Once you think you've got it tuned, you can go to the receiver and you can press the button to check the tuning. But I have found that when the scalar digitizer is connected, you often won't see the red light on the receiver. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not working. It's working just fine. It just means that the digitizer has taken some power out of the system, and so that little light won't show up. But it's fine. The field is still connected and still working. So when you set it up, you don't want the generator to be within the field. You want it to be at least 1 meter away, and keep your laptop as well out of the field. So when I'm using this at night in the bedroom, I have one unit one side of the bed, and the other unit sits on a little bedside table the other side of the bed, okay, making sure that no one's going to knock them off in the night if they get up to go to the toilet. And then I use command adhesive hooks to take all the cables out the door. And then I have a little table out the door, which is just big enough for my laptop and my generator X, and I plug everything else in outside the door of the bedroom. So the units are inside the bedroom, and everything else, all the cables just reach outside. Job done. Okay. So once you've got the hardware set up, now we need to manage the software. And the first time you do this will be the hardest, I promise you. Okay. But I could do this in my sleep now. I really could. So when you have a generator X and you turn it on, okay, it's going to tell you G1 is port whatever and G2 is port whatever. Okay. Now yours are probably not going to say 17 and 18. Okay. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But what you want to do is just make a note, just get a notepad and write down what number is G1, what number is G2, because G1 is going to be the master because we connected it up to the digitizer. G2 is going to be the slave. The slave always follows the master, okay? So in this example, we're going to use the number 17 for G1 and the number 18 for G2, okay? Now, when we open up the software, okay, having remembered our numbers, what we do is we go to the presets tab, and I'll show you how to do this live in the software in a moment, okay? But I want to make sure you've got the notes that you can follow later on. So you go to the presets tab and you go to biofeedback, and then you choose scalar digitizer. And when you do this, you will see that we've got a master and a slave here at the bottom. There's also a master and a slave hunt and kill. Okay, now just for this example, we're just going to set up the ordinary slave and master. We'll get to hunt and kill in a moment. So the first one we're going to set up is the slave. Okay, so remember the slave is the one that goes on generator 2, but it needs to follow the master. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the settings tab. Okay, and this is just a screenshot here of the settings tab. And over here in the output control, it's got out1 equals. And what we do is we type in the port number of generator 1. So whatever number you've written on your notepad for generator 1, the slave is going to follow the master. Okay, so the master, the G1 goes there. And then after we've put that number there, we go to the control tab and we go overwrite generator. And we choose the port number that relates to G2, which in this case is 18. Okay, so just to run through that again, you start with the slave preset, you go to the settings tab, you tell it to follow the G1 port number, and then you overwrite it onto G2. Okay, and I'm just going to quickly check down in the chat, see if anyone's got any questions there. Oh, someone says my link cable won't go all the way into the digitizer. Clayton, don't worry about that at all. They actually don't. That's absolutely fine. Mine sticks out a wee bit too at the top. It does not affect how it functions. It's just the way it's designed. Don't be concerned about that at all. Okay. No, Michael, not the sample digitizer, the scalar digitizer. And Jacob, you can get Scalar separate from the Generator X Pro generator, or you can buy them as a kit together. Entirely up to you, okay? You've got options. All right, so now we've set up the slave profile. We want to set up the master. So we go back to the presets tab. We choose the master preset, and this one's dead easy. Straight to the control tab, overwrite generator, and put it onto the master preset, okay? Then basically lie between the two units and either ask someone to click scan for you, or if you don't have someone to click scan for you, you can set a start delay of 2000, and this will give you time to start it running, go and lie down and get between them and be nice and calm and ready for it, okay? All right, so let me just go to the software. So let's go to share here. There we go. So I just want to run through it in the software just so that you can all see exactly what I do. Okay. Now I'm going to turn on my Generator X Pro and we'll connect it up here. There we go. All right, so I'm turning on my Generator X now. It's probably not going to tell me port 17 and 18, and that's absolutely fine. And we'll just rescan devices so that the software can find my generators. Okay, searching for generators, and it's found 2 of them. Let's take a look at the control tab. Okay, 4 and 5. Now, if I want to know which one is which, this is where I need to look at my generator. Okay, so here's my generator, and it says G1 is 4, G2 is 5. Okay, so 4 and 5. Yours may say something different, so I'm just making myself a note. So G1 is 4, G2 equals 5. Then I'm going to write master for the top one, and slave for the bottom one, okay? So G1 is the master, G2 is the slave, slave follows the master. Here we go. So we go to the presets tab. And we go to biofeedback, scalar digitizer, not sample digitizer, scalar digitizer. And the first one I choose is the slave preset, okay? Now, on this generator that I've just plugged in, the slave G2 is number 5, but it needs to follow the master, which is number 4. So from here, go to the settings, output 1 equals 4. That's literally it. Just type the number 4, go over to the control tab, overwrite 5. And then I just stop and I take a look and go, yep, that's true. I've done that. Okay. Oops, overwrite generator number 5. There we go. So I've put the scalar digitizer slave on number 5. There we go. Back to the presets tab, grab the master. Okay. This one you go straight to the control panel, overwrite 4. So now I've got the slave on 5, the master on 4. You start the scan from the master. Okay. So I would have the number 4 highlighted here. Now you're going to start it with the scan button, but the default countdown here is 200. If that's not long enough, if you're working by yourself, just put a 0 on the end, make it 2000, okay? That'll be plenty of time for you to move into the field and be settled down. It's going to start at 500 Hertz, it's going to go up to 50,000 Hertz, and it's going to go up with this percentage step each time. It's going to return you 20 hits, which when you make a program will run for an hour. And it's up to you if you want to do more samples per step or more loops. I generally find it not required. Okay, and it tells me it's going to take around about 8 to 10 minutes. Now, if I want to improve the accuracy of my scan, I can come down here to the baseline button. And all I would do is I would click this button here and make sure that there's nothing in the field. And what it will do is it will run through one cycle, just checking to see what, like what's going on in the room, what's happening, what frequencies are sort of just there, because you don't want them to be your top 20 hits. When the baseline is complete, it'll give a wee beep, and this little button here will turn green, okay, showing that it's recorded a baseline. Now, when it does this, it will default back to the slave, okay? It'll be set on the slave. So you must remember, once you've got your baseline done, you come back to the master, you come back to the G1 preset, the master preset, and with your baseline set, then you scan and you go and you hop in the middle of the two units, okay? And when it's done its thing, it will pop up a results box of your frequencies that it's found, okay? But you can change all the numbers down here. Like if you wanted to find the top 40, make a 2-hour program. That's absolutely fine, not a problem, okay? If you want it to do a super fine scan, you can change the step size here, okay? You might make it 0.125. If you're running a bit short on time and you just want to do something really, really quickly, you might decide to make it 0.05. Okay, you can play with it and do whatever you want there. Okay, now let's go back to this one here. All right, so it's best to lie perfectly still and have only one person in the scalar field at a time. Okay. We don't want to have any other living organisms in there that might be like interfering with your results. You need to make sure you've recorded which numbers are G1 and G2 so that you've set them up the right way, okay? It's the master that's doing the recording, and the slave preset is the one that's modulating the frequencies. So you can do short scans once a day or longer scans once a week. So you might decide to use the settings exactly as they are as a daily basis, and once a week you might decide to make it a much finer frequency step. Now, when you run the results, you take the scalar digitizer off, okay, and you just connect the link cable back in where it normally goes, and generally retune your devices. I find that when I'm tuning with the scalar digitizer connected, it generally tunes at a slightly lower frequency than it does without the scalar digitizer connected. Okay, now Simon says he's seen a video with John tuning the scalar, and you need to go back and watch that video again. It is definitely the top frequency. So as you tune down from 8, it is the first of the red lights that you are looking for, not the second, okay? Absolutely not. I'm just checking the chat. Okay, Shiroki did not see where I typed the extra 0. I will show that again. And Christina, I'm so sorry. Yes, I do talk a lot, but you will get sent the replay. Okay, now Shiroki, I'm just going to show you again where I typed the 0. Let's go share software, this one. Okay. All right, so the extra 0 was down here. Can you see where I've highlighted that in blue? I'm just going to scroll down the messages, and if you're still there, just let me know if you can see where I'm waving the mouse and turning it blue. Okay, that's where I'm changing the start delay. Okay, the bigger I make that number, the longer it's going to count down before it starts the actual scan. Now, Dan, can I run the scan while running remotes at the same time? No. Whenever you run any biofeedback scan, you should pause all other frequencies. Because if you're running, well, you should pause all remotes that are running frequencies on you. If you've got a remote running frequencies on somebody else, you don't necessarily need to pause that. But generally, I pause all remotes which are in another room. So I've got 20 generators set up in another room. For myself, my husband, my mother, my friends and family. So I would usually pause all of them. I just go global pause, which actually I'm still showing you the software. So global, there's a pause button here. So I can pause all generators, all 20 of them, all at one time. It remembers where they're up to, and I can go global unpause when I'm done. Now, it didn't look like anything happened with these, but that's because I didn't actually have programs running on them. Lisa says, where does it say the scan time? Okay, that is the estimated duration down the bottom. Okay, so we're looking in the biofeedback scan box, and it's right at the bottom. Now, Jacob says, no, scalar harmony is an accessory that you can use when you're running frequencies. You don't need the scalar harmony to do your biofeedback scan. To do the scan, you need the digitizer, okay? That's what does the scan. Now, Simon, no, 2000 is not 20 seconds. How fast is it? It's like a minute and a bit, a couple of minutes. It's certainly plenty of time that if I'm doing my own hunt and kill, that I could set it going outside the bedroom, get myself into the bedroom, get myself into bed, lie down, and be nice and still ready for it to start. Okay. All right. Okay. I think it takes care of everyone's little questions there for the moment. But remember, if you've got an official question, pop it in the Q&A and I will go through them all at the very, very end. Here we go. So back to the notes. Now, let's look at the scalar hunt and kill. Because remember in that presets page, there was the master and slave, just the basic, but then there was also the hunt and kill. And I love the hunt and kill. So what the hunt and kill does is that once it's found the frequencies, it automatically plays them and then it rescans those frequencies, those particular frequencies, and it refines them, okay? So when pathogens are trying to escape, they'll mutate slightly. And when that happens, their frequencies change. So this is a way that they really can't get away from you. And hunt and kill is an awesome, awesome, awesome preset to leave running all night long. It really is, okay? And it will just scan and play, scan and play, scan and play. It'll do its whole thing all night long. Now, hot tip, hit the speaker button on your laptop or computer, because every time it does the scan or enters a scan cycle, your computer's going to beep. And the last thing you want is to be woken up in the middle of the night with it beeping and telling you that it's about to run a scan again, okay? So I put it on silent so it can't do that. And because it's got to be connected to the computer and software to run a hunt and kill, I also have set my laptop to do black screen, okay? So it doesn't shut down, it doesn't hibernate, it keeps running, but it does a black screen to save the screen. And there's a setting in the software where you can turn off the screen of your Generator X Pro so you don't have the light from that showing. Now, Sue says, what's the difference between Generator X and Generator X Pro? Generator X was the preceding model. You can only buy the Generator X Pro from Spooky2 now. And it's the upgraded and latest equipment. I mean, you can still buy the original XM generators, but they won't help you with the with running the biofeedback. You want the Generator X Pro for running biofeedback with your scalar. Okay. So if you want to run a hunt and kill, you connect the hardware exactly the same as we did before. We just choose the other presets, okay? And note, for hunt and kill, do not take the digitizer off for running the subsequent scans. It needs to stay on there all night. So let me show you just how we would run a hunt and kill. So I'm going to go share and we'll find our software. Here's the software. Now, so first thing to do, I've got my generator connected. I take a good look at it and I go, oh, okay, G1 is 4, G2 is 5. I write it down. G1 is the master, G2 is the slave, okay? 4 is the master, 5 is the slave. You look at the numbers that are on your generator, okay? Okay, so don't worry about what's on mine. You just make a note, which one is G1, which one is G2. Okay, we go to the presets tab. Now I'm going to go right back to the home page, okay? Biofeedback, scalar digitizer, hunt and kill, slave. Okay, we set up the slave first every time. Slave has to follow the master. We go to the settings tab. I put in the generator 1 number. Generator 1 was 4. I put a 4. Now I'm going to go control, overwrite, and I'm going to overwrite generator 2, which was number 5. And here at the top, Spooky2 Scalar digitizer, hunt and kill, slave. Great. Now I'm going to set up the hunt and kill master. So presets, double click here on the master, go straight to the control tab, overwrite number 4, or whichever was the number for your generator 1. Okay, now usually I do type a log name, so I would probably put something like Deb Scalar HK, just so that I know it's a hunt and kill. I probably, let's see what else I might put there. Oh, no, I mean, sometimes if I'm doing a baseline, I'll record whether I'm doing a baseline or not, but I don't need to do that. It's going to go from 500 Hertz. It's going to go up to 50,000 Hertz. This is the step size. Okay, you can change it if you want to. If you make that number bigger, the scan will take less time. If you make that number smaller, it will take longer. How many hits do you want it to find? 20 runs for 1 hour, okay, because 20 times 3 minutes is 1 hour. You can change that to 10, you can change it to 40. It's entirely up to you, okay? 1 sample per step, 1 loop, okay? That's usually how I leave it. If I've got someone, for example, my husband, who's a real wriggler, then I might make it go for 2 loops, okay? So that if he's wriggling around on 1 loop, hopefully he won't be wriggling at exactly the same point on the 2nd loop. Here's the start delay, okay? If you are working alone, you might change that to 2000 to give yourself time to get between the units and get settled, okay? And then down at the bottom, it's telling me the estimated time that the scan will take. But remember, this is a hunt and kill preset. This will actually run until you stop it, because the threshold here is 0, okay? So 0 means it doesn't matter what level of hit it detects, it is going to run until you stop it. If you want to change the threshold number, you can put different numbers there. Okay, so you might decide to put 0.2, for example, that you don't, so as things drop below 0.2, they stop running until the list eventually empties and it stops itself. I generally just leave it at 0, okay? And we start the scan from the master preset. So we check that we're on the master. We are. There's the scan button. Hit the scan. Run and get yourself between the boxes. You're all good to go. Okay. Now let's go back to here. Now, Dan says, is there any problem with Herxheimer on hunt and kills? None that I've experienced, because Scalar is so gentle, the body generally takes what it needs from the field. Okay, now, you can do a grade scan with your scalar. Okay, so this is where the beginner or the beginner part ends and the advanced part starts, okay? Because a lot of people don't realize that you can use your scalar to do a grade scan. Now, there's a couple of things you need to know about grade scans. It allows you to test any program you want for effectiveness, but if you're testing rubbish, you will get rubbish results. So for example, if you're a man and you're testing programs for ovarian cancer and you don't have ovaries, you will still get hits. You'll still get frequencies that you resonated with the most, but they're not really relevant because you don't actually have ovaries. But you could take something that you've been diagnosed with or that you know that you have. So for example, you might decide to do a grade scan for Epstein-Barr. Most people have been exposed to Epstein-Barr virus. That's something you might go, well, I just wonder what will happen if I grade scan this. Okay, you could also you can grade scan anything. You can grade scan some of the detox programs to say what frequencies are going to be most helpful for me to detox with. Now, there's a link to a video here at the bottom, okay? So if you want to see a YouTube video of this afterwards, that's how you do it. Now, what we do is we connect the hardware exactly as we did at the start, okay? And this time, when we're setting up the master preset, there's just one more step, and that's to choose our programs and check that we've ticked grade scan. So come with me back to the software. And this is where I get really excited, because there are so many people that have scalars that don't know they can do this. And it's a really, really useful thing. So let's say, here's my slave, okay? So double click on the slave, set it up, tell it to follow the master, overwrite the generator, and I'm popping it onto 5 for my slave. Now, I'm going to grab the master, but this time I'm going to add some programs. So actually, do you know what? I am just going to put detox. Let's just see what we can find. Okay, let's have a look. Detox there, detox there. Oh goodness, look at these. There's lots. Look how many detox programs there are. There's a ton of them. So do you know what? I am going to simply go Shift that highlights all of them, plus. Oh my goodness. So now, do you see on my software here, if I were to try and run all of these, it would take 12 hours and 20 minutes. Now that is a lot of detox, okay? But what I can do is I can grade these to find the 20 that are the best for me, okay? So I've gone master preset. Now I've chosen my programs of interest, and now I'm going to go control panel, overwrite generator for the master, okay? Now there's all the programs. Here's all the frequencies. There's 230 of them. By golly, that is a lot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tick grade program. Okay, so you see this wee box here that I'm ticking, grade program. And now when I hit scan, and I will just for fun, what it's going to do is it's going to test each frequency. So it's not going to run each frequency for 3 minutes. It's just doing a little test, and they generally go pretty quickly. And then it will come back and it will tell me, because I've got 20 max hits to find, it'll tell me which of the top 20 out of these 230 are the most useful for me. There we go. We'll go back to the master so we can see what the master's up to. There we go. There we go. So look at that. It's already done 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Now, these are not real results because I haven't actually got anything connected to the generator and the scale is not turned on. Okay. Now, I just want to check that it's shown you the pop-up, because this is really helpful. So let me show you this. There we go. So it did my grade test, and now it's popped up some results. I just want to show you what results look like when they come up. So every time you do a scan, this is the pop-up that you get for saving your results. So these are the frequencies, although these ones are just pretend, okay? And they rank them from the largest hit down to the smallest hit. So the frequencies are the numbers at the front, and the strength of the hit is the number in the brackets. Now, if I don't want to save some of these as a program, I can simply untick some of them, or I can untick all of them, or I can retick all of them, or I can copy them to a clipboard so I can, do some analysis of them later, okay? Or if I've decided they're real rubbish, I could just simply erase them and get rid of them. But when we go to save them, top right button here, create program, and I just want to check that you can see the next pop-up that's appeared, and it looks like you can. Good. Okay, so this is my Deb Scalar. Now, this title is no longer accurate, so I'll put Deb Scalar. This was a grade detox, and then it automatically puts the date and the time. These are the frequencies. I'm actually just going to put over here fake results, so I don't get confused later and think that it was something real. And then I hit save at the top right as well. And this program is now in my biofeedback. So if I go down to the bottom now, there we go. There's my biofeedback program in the database, okay? But this one here only has 20 frequencies, okay? Not the 230. Now let's go back here. Because wait, there's more. There's much more. Okay, let's go back to this one. Now, can you do a refine scan with your scalar? And the answer is yes, you can. Even though there's not a preset there, okay, you can refine programs as well. But important things to know about refining frequencies. If you are trying to entrain an organ back to health, okay, if you're trying to entrain something, that is not something to refine. That is something that if you've got, say, an unhealthy liver, you want to train it back to the optimal frequency for liver, okay? The things that you want to refine are the living things, the pathogens, the viruses, the bacteria, the fungi, the mold, okay, things like that. The things that are used for detox or organ support, or healing programs, those are not things to refine, okay? But the way that you refine them Okay, you could take a program you just graded. So let's say that we choose a pathogen like Epstein-Barr. Okay, so I could grade it, find the top 20 results for my Epstein-Barr hits, and then load it back in. But instead of ticking grade scan, we simply do not tick the box. And this time when we scan it, it'll take those frequencies and it will return the refined frequencies. Now, you would not do it with something like the 230 frequencies. You would grade first to get the frequencies most useful for yourself, like say 20 frequencies, and refine those. Okay. Now, how exciting is that? So I am sure there's a lot of Scalar users out there don't know that you can do these things with Scalar. But wait, there's more. Okay. And this is the point where you're probably going to have to tell me to slow down, because I have literally been waiting all month to share this with everybody. I'm getting really excited now. Okay, so we've got our biofeedback results. What can I do with them? Okay, you can run them. You can run them exactly as they are, and you can put an essential oil on the receiver coil at the same time if you want to. It's entirely up to you. Now when you want to run them, you've got a choice of either running them in the Scalar empty shell preset general, or you might decide to use 11th harmonic. And what it does is it multiplies the frequency by 10 and adds it to the frequency. So you've got 11 times, and it plays that frequency as well. Okay, so you've got a choice. Or Brian Yamamoto, who you will see on the Facebook page under the name Diva Prana, is an amazing man with a fabulous website that he's created. This one here, the Spooky2 tools. Now, he has got a Lyme tool, cancer tool, and a biofeedback tool. He's also got all kinds of other links for the Hiwis and for, what else has he got there? Chain editors, all kinds of things on his site. He is a marvelous man and so clever. So you can use your biofeedback in one of his tools, and what it will do is it will create presets for the Lyme protocol or the cancer protocol if you're having trouble inserting your biofeedback into those presets. And if you want to know more about that, I would direct you to the Spooky2 Academy events page and go and have a look for my last Lyme and Morgellons protocol that I ran, or the last cancer protocol that I ran, where we looked at those tools. The other thing you can do is you can do reverse lookup. Okay, now reverse lookup is going to return programs that contain frequencies close to the frequencies you have found. It is not a diagnostic tool. And I have to say that one of my favorite things is when I scan my husband and we do reverse lookup, and I kid you not, but there is a program called mental retardation, and I go, oh, you've got mental retardation, and we laugh and we laugh and we laugh and we laugh. I think I laugh more than he does, because there's actually, it's not an issue. Now, when you do reverse lookup, I mean, I have had frequencies that when I've looked it up, it's told me that I have, prostate issues. Now, I don't have a prostate. Okay, so it's definitely not diagnosing that I do. It's simply telling me that a frequency that has been returned from my biofeedback is close to a frequency that's in this program. That's all it's saying. So let's have a look. So if you want to use the Lyme and cancer tools, go to Brian's Spooky2 tools and download them. And what you do is you choose what devices you've got. Okay, so you might choose that you've got Scalar and remote, or if you've got a lot of the other spooky equipment, you might choose, you might have plasma, you might have contact, coil, laser. You tick whatever you happen to have. Okay, save that, and then you put your scan results in here. You choose the scan and you tell it to build the presets. And what it does is it inserts your biofeedback into all of the cancer protocol presets, or all of the Lyme and Morgellons presets, or whatever it is that you've chosen. Okay. Now, if we're doing the reverse lookup, you can ask it to look for harmonics or subharmonics. But when we're doing Scalar, because it's going to return numbers between 500 to 50,000, this is already ideal for the database. Because if you look at the programs in the database, you will see that most of them are integer values. And, there's very few of them above 50,000. There are some, but not a lot, okay? The things that are generally above the 50,000 are the things that you're going to find that are in the DNA database and the MW database and the SD database, okay? So we can save some time when we're doing our reverse lookup by telling it that we don't want to look in those databases. And we can choose the tolerance carefully so that we're not looking up, you know, like if I put in something within 10%, let's say I got a result back which was, the frequency was 4,000, and I put in a tolerance of 10%, then it's going to say, well, 10% of 4,000 is 400. Let's look for every frequency from 3,600 up to 4,400. Not useful, okay? That's way too much, okay? So let me just go back to how we might look up a reverse lookup. We go back to, sorry, I want to go to this one. There we go. Now, okay, so I am going to take my results that we just saved, my fake results. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the home page here, and I'm going to go shall empty preset, Scalar, Scalar General, and I'm going to go and find my crazy little detox program there. There it is. And let's go Control, Overwrite, Generator. And I'm putting, it doesn't matter which one I'm putting it on, as long as it's the one that's now connected to my Scalar to run the frequencies. Okay, so this would be about running frequencies. Now, these are the frequencies that it told me I would be best running for detox. Okay, now I can include harmonics and subharmonics if I want to, but because these are scalar results, I would choose not to, okay? I wouldn't. What I would probably do is change this number here to 0.025, okay? And that would be an okay tolerance. And what it's going to do is it's going to say, well, you know, 0.025 of each of these frequencies, and it would look in the databases that I choose. So before I hit the go button, I come back to the programs tab, and I take a look and I go, right, what have I got ticked? Well, the DNA frequencies are going to be well higher. There's no point searching the DNA database. There's also no point searching the MW database or the SD database. I think I will search the ALT database, okay? I don't want to search cust because that's my own custom programs that I've made, and I've made them from programs already in the database. So if I'm finding programs in the database, I don't need to look twice. Okay, so once I've got those ticked for the ones that I want to search, come back to the control panel, and that's where I hit go. Okay, so that will then chug away for a couple of minutes. And you know, sometimes if you are looking in the MW database or the DNA database, if you've asked it to look for harmonics above the frequencies you found, it could be looking for a very long time. Okay, so that's why I like to make it nice and quick. Now let's come back here. Okay, so reverse lookup is useful if you've got a confirmed diagnosis already, and you can see if any of the frequencies that come back in your scan are associated with that condition, okay? Now, just remember that just because you prioritize something in your body, the body might know better, okay? So if you're looking for something to do with knee pain, but you've actually got a kidney issue going on, it's quite likely you'll get lots of hits for kidneys before you ever see something for knee pain. If you perform a lot of scans over time, then you can start to see patterns. And what I did with my old dog, now we were together for, she passed away at 17 and a half. We were together for at least 12 years, maybe even a little bit longer. And I did notice that when I ran scans on her and scans on me, quite often we were so entangled because we literally did everything together. And I would see that we had, you know, matching frequencies. And sometimes I would imprint her frequencies into water for her to drink. And I found for dogs that was absolutely brilliant, by the way. I also used to imprint her frequencies into this little heart-shaped rose quartz crystal. And I used to pop that in her dog bed, and I would hide it, okay? Because this is one of the first things I ever bought Spooky for. It was for my dog. And I would put the frequencies in here and hide it in her bed, and she would always find it, and she would be cuddling up on it in the morning. And I have to say, it gave my little dog the most wonderful new lease of life. It really did. It was marvelous for her. Okay, now, so if you start to see patterns over time, that's when you start going, okay, I wonder what this means. What does it mean that I keep seeing this frequency? Or what does it mean that these types of programs come up? And you might have to do a little bit of research, okay? So if you start to see a lot of things like pneumonia, respiratory, ARDS, you might go, okay, is there something going on? You might see, Klebsiella, various strains of that related to, respiratory issues. Okay, so you might sort of go, I wonder. And that's when you might decide to grade scan programs based on that. Okay. There we go. So if you've got good analytical skills and you can process data properly, then it can be a really good way of looking for clues in the data. And that little clip pad that I showed you before when the program results popped up, you can paste your results into Word documents, into spreadsheets. You can analyze them all kinds of ways. And of course, the biofeedback results save into a spreadsheet within the Spooky2 system anyway, if you want to really start digging through your C drive and open up those folders and take a look. So here's an example of what you might see. So this is a reverse lookup. Now, for whatever reason, I've decided to put match tolerance 0.05%, so it's quite a wide tolerance. And I've decided not to include the harmonics, which are the higher frequencies. I've decided not to include the subharmonics, which are the lower frequencies. And when I mean the higher and the lower, what I mean is a harmonic is like, if I'm looking at octave harmonics, the higher would be timesing by 2, timesing by 2 again, timesing by 2 again, timesing by 2. And the lower would be dividing by 2, dividing by 2, dividing by 2. And there are different ways that they can find frequencies. So there's Fibonacci frequencies. There is, what else? Golden ratio, decade, which is timesing and dividing by 10. Okay, so you can have a look at that. But when you're using the scalar, because the frequencies come out between 500 to 50,000, I think it's perfectly okay to exclude them. There we go. So the database is included. It tells you what I've included and it tells you what I've excluded. Okay, so in this one, I said you don't even need to search the old BFB files, because if you do a lot of BFB scans, it'll become quite a big database over time. So the first one it's scanned is, this is the frequency it's found. It hasn't found a match. Now that's okay. Just means that it's found a frequency that your body needs, but there's nothing in the database that has something within 0.05% of that they've recognized. But it's still a frequency that your body wants. Now 513.939, this one's got a lot of hits. Whoops, let me go back. This one has a lot of hits. So when you see something that has a lot of hits, that's where you start to look and say, well, I wonder what it is. I mean, it's unlikely that I've got parvovirus, okay? And again, remember, it's not a diagnostic tool. But if I was feeling that I had some sort of a cough or something respiratory going on, and I saw bronchitis, cough, and went down the list and found some other things, that might be when I decided to grade scan some programs for that type of ailment, okay? Now we're getting into the super advanced, okay? So I want to show you how to use Brian's biofeedback tool. So this is really useful for people who have only a small number of generators, okay? If you want to really like build some presets and sort of get your, when you are running biofeedback on remote, you want to get the most out of it. So what it does, it gives you a way where you can specify up to 2 biofeedback scans and a targeted preset and put them all together to create presets for yourself, okay? And it really automates the process of creating presets. Now, you can have detox programs running simultaneously in remote mode. So if you had plenty of generators, the idea is that when you're running your biofeedback, you would have something running detox on another remote. For my husband and I, we pretty much run terrain all the time. It just loops over and over and over because you're always being exposed to various things. But if you don't have the benefit of having, the 20 odd generators that we've got in another room, then you might decide to use the biofeedback tool and have your biofeedback play on one channel with detox programs set up to run on the second channel on the one remote, okay? So what it does is when it's creating remote presets with your biofeedback is that it's going to send your biofeedback results to output 1, and then it's going to send these particular detox programs to output 2, and it will run them together, okay? Now, let me just show you the biofeedback tool. So let me open it up. Open. Now, here we go. And I want to share this. Okay. All right, so this is the biofeedback tool, which I've downloaded from Brian's site. So say, for example, I wanted to run my biofeedback with something related to, say, Epstein-Barr, something like that. So I would create a targeted preset for Epstein-Barr, and then I would add my results. So let's actually do that. Let's create a targeted preset. Okay, so I'm going to go, oops, back this way. All right, bear with me. Okay. Share the software page. Where's my software gone? Spooky2 software. There we go. There's the software. Okay, so let's say I want to make a targeted preset for Epstein-Barr. Okay, so let's say I'm a Scalar user, so I would go Scalar General, okay, Programs. Now this time I'm going to put in Epstein-Barr, so Epstein, there we go. And let's choose some programs. Now, I particularly like programs from the bio database and also from the Russian database. Don't ask me why, I just really like those databases. So I might decide, oh, look, here's a couple from those databases to make it easier for myself. I could untick some things there, but I might decide to go, look, there's a 69-minute program right there. And there's one from the Russian program. Now, there we go. It's still only 69 minutes, 1 hour and 9 minutes, because they've obviously got frequencies that are the same in these two programs. That's okay. Maybe we'll choose another one as well. Let's have a look. Let's choose that one from the extra database. Okay, and we'll just see. And look, it's only gone up to 1 hour and 12 because I've got remove duplicate frequencies ticked. Okay. And I'm actually going to take that down to 0%, and let's just see what happens. There we go, 1 hour and 15 minutes. Okay, cool. Now, so I've got some Epstein-Barr frequencies that I can run in Scalar, but I want to save it as a preset. So I'm going to go presets page, and there's a save button right here. So I am not saving them on the programs tab. That will only save a custom program. I'm saving a targeted preset. So I'm going to go save. And it brings up a pop-up box, which I want to make sure that you can see. There we go. I'm going to go back to that one. So it tells me it's going to save this preset under Spooky2 Preset Collections User. This is going to pop up in my user folder in the software. So I created this as a Scalar preset, and I did it for Epstein-Barr. And I'm just going to put demo, okay? Epstein-Barr demo, okay? And I'm going to hit the save button. Now, when I go to the home page now, you see how I've got my user folder here? And let's have a look. There it is. There's my targeted preset. So if I wanted to play that, I could right here, right now, and it would just be good as gold. But I want to use it with my biofeedback, okay? So this is where we go for the biofeedback tool. And I just want to check that you can see that on the screen as well. Looks like you can. Excellent. So let's say I wanted to take the scan that I just did. Let's have a look. What did we call it? Deb Scalar. There we go. Actually, it doesn't matter which one I choose. I'm just going to choose a Deb Scalar one, and I'm going to choose my targeted preset, which is my Epstein-Barr demo. Hang on, I'm going to close that so it refreshes. BFB, open. There we go. Let's choose a Deb Scalar. And my target preset, there's the demo. Okay, so because I had it open, it hadn't refreshed. There we go. Now I'm going to ask it to build the presets. I'm going to untick the detox because I'm not worried about that. And I'm going to tell it to build the presets. And it tells me presets have now been built in the user folder. Okay, so let's go back here, user folder. Okay, now do you see these extra ones that have been added here now for all different types of equipment? So I've now got a BFB, S for scalar, and this has got my Epstein-Barr and my biofeedback. But I've also got presets that I can run on remote. And if I want to run it in contact mode, I've also got presets that I can run in contact mode. I've got presets for coil, I've got presets for laser. The whole thing has just been built all by itself, and each one of them has got my biofeedback added in the right place. So it's a really, really, really neat little tool. Now, if you want to find out more about the tool, because this is really only the tip of the iceberg, the tool can do so much more. Go to Brian's website, download the tool and download his PDF guide, and it will tell you all the things that the tool can do. And it really is, it's a really neat little thing. Okay, so let's find the questions. There we go. All right. Okay, Pamela says frankincense and what oil to heal skin wounds? Look, frankincense is absolutely brilliant. The other thing you could do, I mean, vitamin C, it would be something I'd be putting on the receiver coil and taking orally the vitamin C as well. Zinc is another one. What else would you use? Calendula oil, actually. But you've got to be very cautious with things like calendula because they can actually heal things so quickly that it can heal the top and then you can get a necrotic layer underneath. So sometimes you've got to be very careful and let things heal from the bottom up. Okay, so just caution with that one. Now, Fernando says the scalar is an add-on to the station, for example. I am not sure what your question means. Could you rephrase that for me? Now, Maria says, for a year, I've been doing scalar biofeedback lasting around 45 minutes. Now the estimated time shows 8 minutes without me doing anything different. Is there any reason for this? Have you upgraded your software? Have you downloaded new software? Would be my question. Or have you changed the computer that it's connected to? So whenever you are connecting to any computer, they do say that you should have a minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM, okay? If you haven't got enough RAM, things will run slower. Because I know that when I'm on this computer trying to demonstrate things and I have the Zoom connected, the Zoom is taking so much of the processing time out of this computer that the scans, oh, they're painful. They're painful. Paint would dry quicker on a wet day, okay? So just to maybe have a look at what other programs may or may not be running in the background too. Okay, now question, when you run a biofeedback scan without anyone in the field, wouldn't the result be no hits? Why would there be hits? Because there's always things in the field, okay? What looks empty to you is not really empty, okay? Remember that the two boxes, the receiver is actually getting more energy than is being sent out because there is energy in the field, okay? And there are just things in the field anyway. You know, your whole house is subject to frequencies from your Wi-Fi, from neighbors' Wi-Fi. You know, even your fridge is giving off a frequency if it's running. There's the power cables in the wall. There are frequencies all around us all the time. So even if there's nobody there, yes, you will still find hits. And all it's doing is it's telling you what are the top 10, 20, 40, whatever you've selected, out of the range from 500 to 50,000, going up in very, very tiny increments. There is always going to be something. Okay, Shelley says, what number do I put in for a longer, finer scan once a week? Okay, let me just make sure you can see the software page. Screen one. There we go. All right, so when you are wanting to change the fineness, you see the initial step size here? This one is the one that I change. So if I wanted to make that into a finer scan, you might decide to halve it and make it 0.125. Okay. Anonymous says, isn't the remote device a scalar wave also? And the answer is yes, it is. It's actually a tiny scalar. It is. You are correct on that. And Anonymous says, the scalar is an add-on to the station. I still don't know what you mean by that. What station? If you can ask your question again, I will do my very best to answer it. Okay, what if the pathogen is a higher frequency than 50,000? Okay, so this is where harmonics come into play. So if you look in the DNA database, let's go for challenge preset. Let's choose contact DNA programs, and we will tick DNA here, and we'll just go find something. We'll find Epstein-Barr in the DNA. There we go, Epstein-Barr. Okay, and we'll go control overwrite. I'm just going to overwrite the virtual generator this time, and I'm going to start it running. Okay, and we'll just have a look at what the frequency is. Okay, now you see this frequency here. It's 25 million, 10,748 point blah, 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 blah. Okay, now you can't play that frequency in the scalar device. So if you were trying to play something from the DNA database, what the scalar is going to do is it's going to use harmonics to divide that number until it gets to a number between 0 to 50,000 that it can run. That's what it's going to do. So the reality is that your pathogens likely are higher than the 50,000, but they will have harmonics. And there's evidence that you can destroy a pathogen with a harmonic. It will just take longer. It's like if you consider a piano, for example, and you have the C notes on the piano, which is, you've got it's still a C note. It's just in different octaves, if that makes any sense. And if you hit one of them, so if you do an experiment with the piano and you hit one of the C's, you can actually make the other C notes resonate, and they will actually start to vibrate because you've hit something that it resonates with. Okay, what is the loop for? Okay, the loop is if you want it to scan through one cycle from 500 to 50,000 and do another loop as well. So I often do loops when I'm trying to scan someone that's wriggling around. So if I've got a very wriggly pet, I might try and loop twice. I also do loops for my husband because, I'll say to him, can you sit still for 20 minutes? Yep, I can sit still for 20 minutes. And I guarantee you after 2 minutes, the man has practically leaped to the other side of the room because he had to grab his phone, or he dropped a chip, or he wanted his beer, or, he will not sit still. So for him, because he's a total wriggler, and I know that he just won't sit still, I often set the number of loops to try and make sure that whatever he's doing, I mean, it's unlikely that he's going to dive for his phone at exactly the same time in each loop. And I'm just hoping to get better accuracy from a wriggler. Okay, Paul says, are there any experimental results published using the devices that confirm the waves are scalar? Oh, now you'd have to ask Spooky2 for that. I think if you look on the Spooky2 blog, there are some blog notes by Jeff Kaiser, who was sort of like experimenting with the scalar equipment. He's the one that had the blog about using it without the link cable, proving that it could actually take power from the ether. Although, again, I'm not recommending you do that. I am recommending that you use the link cable, okay? But I would contact Spooky2 for that. Now, Brad says, my G1 has a port of 5 and G2 is port 4. Is there a way to switch these ports around? The answer is yes, there is. And I've done, so in the room where I've got the 20 generators set up, I wanted them all to go like in order, you know, I wanted the numbers all sequential. And yes, there is a way to do it. And if you look on the Spooky2 blog, you will find the instructions there. I don't remember because it was something I did once and I've never had to do again because they're now just perfect and have been since I've done it. Okay. Now, will the scalar field effect be affected by a continuous glucose monitor or automated insulin delivery device? That is a good question. Look, I mean, you kind of, if you need one, you need one. My husband plays on his phone in the scalar field. It's not, is it ideal? No. But does he do it? Yes, consistently. You know, if I'm scanning a pet, is it ideal that they're in a metal crate when I'm doing it? It's not. But do I have to do it to get a scan at all? I do. So, you know, if it's something you have to have, then do it. I know that people have asked questions about can they use a grounding sheet in bed while they're using the scalar, and the answer is yes, they can use a grounding sheet. So I would suggest that you ask that question direct to Spooky2, but I would say, look, if you need it, you need it, and you'll still get results even if you do have it in the field. Now Alan says, where is Brian's site? It's called www.spooky2 with the number 2 tools TOOLS.com. Okay, now Anonymous says, why does the start frequency of the scan start at 500 and not lower like 0.1? Okay, because it's working on percentages. If we started it at something like, well, there's nothing to stop you changing that 500 to 0.1 if you want, but because it's going to work on a percentage increase each time, a percentage increase of a very, very tiny number is a very, very, very tiny number. And so you will be there for a very, very long time if you do decrease that number, but you can if you want to. Now, Trish says, once you remove the digitizer, how do you run the program and can you add the program to remote? Yes, you can. Okay, so if I wanted to run the program, and let me just check that I'm showing you the software still. Okay, I would go to, right, shell empty preset, scalar, choose general or 11th harmonic, doesn't really matter, it's your choice. I'll just choose general most of the time. I'm going to choose my program, so let's have a look. We saved it under detox, didn't we? So let's see. There we go. There's my program. Control, overwrite. So now I check my generator and I need to check which one is connected to the scalar. So when the digitizer is not connected, okay, the link cable will be plugged in, okay, and the generator, the BNC on the generator will go directly onto the BNC directly on the transmitter. So I hope that you can see that there. And if not, I will put this over. Just trying to show you. So what I've done, I've got the link cable connected with no scalar digitizer. This is where the power cable would go. And this is the BNC, which is connected to the generator that I'm about to put the frequencies through. Okay. So let's assume that the scalar is turned on, tuned, all set up, ready to go. And I come over to my generator and I have a look and I go, oh, okay, I've connected it to port number whatever. In this case, it's connected to port 4 on this particular generator. Okay, so I come back to my software and I would go, right, overwrite generator number 4. Okay, Spooky2 Scalar General, here's my frequencies, and then I just hit the start button. And that's how you run the frequencies through. Okay. Now these ones are set to just play once because it's got the number 1 here in the programs tab. If you wanted it to go over and over and over, then before overwriting your generator, you just change that to a 0 and it'll go as many times as you like. You could put a 2 if you want it to go twice, or a 0 to run continuously. Pamela says, what about the scalar setup in the garden? So I haven't got it done the way that I want it yet. So my property slopes, like it's got a real slope on it. So although the front end of the house is flat on the ground, the back end where I am now is probably 1.2 meters off the ground. And so I'm standing on top of our cellar, essentially. And in the cellar, there are PowerPoints. And I thought it would be really, really neat to plug the transmitter into the PowerPoint in the cellar. It can sit under there. It won't get direct sun. It won't get too hot. It won't get rained on. It won't get bird poop on it, because that was another consideration. And then from the house, I can actually run it diagonally across the lawn, because seriously, all you need is a link cable out to the receiver. The receiver doesn't plug in. It's only the transmitter that needs the power. And I've sort of been thinking, how am I going to protect the receiver from sunlight and rain and bird poop and things like that? And I've been sort of looking around for like a bedside cabinet that I can pull the drawers out of, and maybe just like pop it in a wee box just to keep it nice and clean and tidy. And that's really all you need. So it won't actually be, so I'll be on the grass. I don't know if I need to support the link cable off the grass or not, whether I need to go to that extent. But that's the idea anyway. Now, can you run scalar hunt and kill for 2 people overnight? No. Okay, when you're running the biofeedback, it is supposed to be only 1 person at a time, okay, so that you get pure results. But the reality is that whoever you're sleeping with in bed at night, the 2 of you are potentially quite entangled anyway. So it would be interesting if you actually did your scans separately and then looked at the results you've got and see if you've got overlapping frequencies. That would be something that I would think would be very interesting. Okay, Anonymous says, where to find Brian's PDF and programs? Okay, let me just see if I've actually got his site up still. There it is. Download the Spooky tools. Let's go to this one, share. That one. Okay, so this is Brian's website. So spooky2tools.com is the website. Okay, that part there, that'll take you to the website. I've gone further and gone to the downloads page on that page. Okay. And there's not just the biofeedback tool, there's the Lyme tool, there's the cancer tool. There is a lot of stuff here. He's absolutely amazing. Okay, so once you're on that site, don't just start and stop at the biofeedback tool. Go through the whole thing. It's just incredible. Okay, Andrew says, when I do a scalar scan, I run a baseline without being in the field. Correct. After it completes, I start my scan and it does a, now you've got 50 to 50K. I think you mean 500 to 50K, or do you really mean 50 to 50K? But when it completes, it runs again. Huh. But do you mean that when you, huh. Okay, Andrew, I'm not sure why you're getting it to run twice, provided you're setting it up the way that I showed you. So let me just go back here and we'll go back to the software. So when I'm running the baseline, I'm using the buttons here. I'm not using this tick box here. I'm erasing any current baseline if there is one. If I see that green and I want a brand new baseline, I click that to erase it, and then I click the baseline button to start it. And then once it's done the baseline and the button beside here is turned green, I hit scan and it only does once. And you haven't got 2 loops selected. I'd really like to see your software actually. So if you want to Zoom me at some point and I can take a look at your screen, I'll get you to share screen with me and I can take a look if you like. So just send me an email and we'll find a time where I can, sneak a peek in your computer. Okay. James says, yes, you can absolutely use a grounding sheet. Yes, that question has been asked on the blog and on the Spooky2 page a number of times. And when I have the scalar set up in my bedroom, I do have a grounding sheet on the bed. In fact, I'm a big one for grounding fields. I try and even make sure the dogs have got grounding fields if I possibly can. Okay, Julie says, how do you get the dosage right when using drugs on the scalar machine so you get the right benefit and dosage? So, the idea is that the body only takes what it needs from the scalar field. Having said that, though, John says do not put poisonous substances on the scaler just to test it out, because nobody needs a good dose of poison. So when I'm putting things on the machine, like I'm generally not measuring them. So if I'm using supplements, and I would normally have like one vitamin D, or, well, actually the truth is, if I was taking vitamin D, I'd probably take 10,000 international units. If I was putting it on the scaler, I'd probably only put 1,000, because I can leave it there, all night. I've never found that I've overdosed on anything, and I've used alcoholic tinctures, I've used dried herbs, I've used supplements. What else have we put on there? That's probably, I don't think we did anything for the dog. Oh, we did put thyroid medication on there for one of the dogs that had overactive thyroid for a period of time. I really wasn't happy giving her the thyroxine because it has a cancer risk with it. So we did set up the scaler, and I would put just one of her pills on the scaler field and let her sleep in the field with it. Now, Trish says, can you run hunt and kill on yourself if the animals sleep with you? They're not supposed to be in the field with you. So if you have like my doggy sometimes prefers to sleep in his crate because it's warmer. Other times he's in the bed with me. So when I'm actually doing the hunt and kill at night, I don't have him in the room with me. Okay, Anonymous saw a TED talk where cancer is killed at a frequency between 100,000 to 200,000, but 50,000 is the max. Again, we're talking harmonics here, because the frequency that most cancers are found at is a lot higher than 200,000. Like, think sort of like around sort of like the 1.4, 1.6 million, really. So we're still looking at harmonics. Okay, when you take the digitizer out and put the link cable back in, do you have to tune the frequency? The answer is generally yes. I find that my boxes tune at a slightly higher frequency without the digitizer than they do with. Okay, it's not much, but if I've got and it depends on distance as well. So if I have the boxes connected with the short link cable at the end of the couch, no digitizer, they will generally tune around about 5.9. If I add the digitizer, they will generally tune around about anything between, say, 5.4 to 5.6. Okay, Anonymous says, if you're trying to identify a specific cancer, would you say scalar would be better at discovering the frequency or the contact rife system? Now, that is a really, it's a philosophical question in a sense, because are you killing the cancer, or are you healing the body so the body, gets rid of the cancer? There's two ways you can go, and I would encourage you to look at my cancer protocol. I've done two versions of it, 2 different years. One I did with scalar, and the other I did from a contact point of view. So the idea with scalar is that it's a healing machine. It allows the body to heal. So if I had cancer, or knew someone with cancer, and we were going to heal the body from cancer, the things that I would be doing would be fresh air, grounding, sunlight, clean water. I would be taking a real good look at diet, and this is where it gets even more complicated, because you've got Chris Walk from Chris Beat Cancer, who advocates a diet high in cruciferous veggies and fruits, predominantly raw. You've got Dr. Joel Furman, who has an anti-cancer soup. Again, lots of cruciferous. He also adds in what he calls the G-bomb, so greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, and berries. But when he makes his anti-cancer soup, he makes a big pot of beans and veggies, and then he juices celery and carrot, like large quantities, gets the raw cruciferous, which is generally kale, and blends it in the juices, and only adds it to the soup at the very end and heats it through very gently. So it is still essentially raw. Then you've got things like Gerson therapy. So now what's the one they use? It's not wheatgrass. It's there's a particular green that they like juicing. I can picture it in my mind, and it tastes absolutely terrible. Then again, you've got Dr. Josh Axe, he's another one. Now, he's very big on the reishi mushroom, depending on what type of cancer it is. And he's not so much about the raw diet. He likes animal products, and he likes a cooked diet. So, so if you're going after cancer and you were trying to heal it, you've got all these different considerations, plus get rid of anything in the environment that could be contributing to toxic burden. So for example, I actually make most of my own clothes now, which are linen, cotton, or I will wear wool. My bed sheets are made of organic cotton, linen if I could, find some that was reasonably priced. I stay away from the plastics. I stay away from polyesters. I stay away from Teflon coated frying pans. I stay away from artificial fragrances. I'm very careful about what I choose when I'm cleaning my house. The things that I wear on myself are as natural as possible. I haven't got my, I have got my little sandal. No, I've put them away. So I have earthing sandals when I go outside. So if I can't go out in bare feet, and I am barefoot most of the time, but if I can't, I have earthing sandals. So if you were going to use the scalar to go after cancer, it would be a healing approach. The idea is that you're giving the body what it needs to try and heal itself. Oh, and I would be doing high dose vitamin C as well. And I would be looking at a website called www.dryourself.com. It's an American site that was run by Dr. Andrew Saul until he passed away recently. And it has information which goes back over 100 years about using high dose vitamin C for killing cancer. So I would be looking at all those types of things. Otherwise, if you think killing is the appropriate approach, that's when I would be suggesting to you, you might want to go and actually invest in the what's called Spooky Central, which is the plasma device. And I do have one. And if something happens here, which I recognize as a known pathogen, so for example, the dog got a UTI, I don't know, 6 months ago, and I noticed it really, really quickly. So I popped him on the bed and I got the plasma set up with UTI frequencies from the DNA database. I think plasma is excellent specifically for the DNA database. And I ran that on him overnight with the bulb up against his back. But I also made sure that I put into his meal apple cider vinegar, raw honey, and green tea. Okay, and so he had quite an interesting dinner and breakfast for a couple of days. Now that UTI never got a hold, and it was gone like that. It really was. So if I've got something that I recognize like that, that's when I would bring out the central and go with plasma. But if it's something where I'm just wanting to do general healing, okay, that's when I would go for the scalar. So you've got to settle it within yourself whether you are healing or killing. They are different approaches, and in my opinion, both work. Okay, and it's they will definitely both work. I don't know that one is faster than the other. It's more about whatever feels right to you is the way to go. Some people can't think of anything worse than changing their diet. Whereas some people are like, well, if that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do. It's entirely up to the individual. Now, Julie says, can you use it for antibiotics? Yes, you can. One of they can use it for a lot more than antibiotics. So one of the first things that John was suggesting was a friend that had breast cancer, and he was suggesting that she put the chemotherapy drugs or the pharmaceuticals on the scalar and get the benefit of it that way, without getting the side effects of the chemotherapy drugs. You can also use scalar for intentions. So for example, you could write an intention, about, you want to conceive a child, and you can put that on the scalar, and you can actually broadcast an intention through the scalar as well. So I've definitely heard John speak about that too. Andrew says scan loops was set on too. There you go. Sweet as. Awesome. Okay. All right. Now, Anonymous says, I've seen from Germany they placed a sample of a tumor and placed it on the receiver and used a chemo drug to kill it. They say the cancer kill signal carried to the other sample and that the tumor died. They say cancer cells only talk to other cancer cells. Oh, now that is interesting. I've heard similar things. I've heard someone say that if you, if for example, you've got a UTI and you take a urine sample and you mix vitamin C in your urine and put that on the scalar, that's another way that you can increase the effectiveness for killing a UTI with scalar. But look, I really think with something like this, you're really only limited by, your imagination. Like, give it a go, and then make sure that you get onto the Facebook page and tell people if you're successful so that others can try it as well. Okay. Now, Anonymous says, so the scalar scan would say list in the top 20 a detox if you say have cancer, the body knows. I'm not quite sure what your question means there, but when you do a scan, all it's doing is it's telling you the frequencies that the body has reacted most strongly to. Now, they may or may not be the frequencies that you think you're looking for, but they're the frequencies that the body has reacted to, if that's any help. You can run a reverse lookup to see what they relate to, and it may or may not be what you were expecting. But I would still say that the biofeedback is the best set of frequencies you can get to run. Okay, and I think Zara has taken care of all the other questions. Okay, so are there any last questions? Okay, nothing is coming through. So look, thank you everybody, and like really thank you so much to everybody that's actually made it to the end, because I know I talk a lot, I really do, and I apologize for that. If you've got any questions at all, places that you can go for assistance, you can ask at support@spooky2-mall.com, or you can send me an email. I'm debbie.rich.spooky2@hotmail.com. And we'll always do our best to get you an answer. But I'd also encourage you to look on the Spooky2 site. They have an amazing blog there. And many of the questions have been asked there, and they've got excellent answers from experienced users. There's also the Facebook page or the Facebook group that you can ask questions on, and there are some incredible users there as well. So you've got the Rife for Life, which is just the general Spooky2 group, but there is also a group for Scalar as well if you're particularly interested in Scalar. So look, thank you so much for attending. I really appreciate it. Particularly the people that I have now kept up till nearly 3 o'clock in the morning. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you all again on another occasion. Bye-bye for now. Thank you.